Well, good day and welcome to you. It is March the 4th, and you better have a great day. That's an order. No, I'm just kidding. Now, the only reason why I said that is because March the 4th is the only day on the calendar that's a command. Go figure. And I'm sorry for the dad joke. But anyway, my name is Gary Willing, and as always, I want to welcome you to Search for Signs and just point out the fact that I have included some information in the description portion of every one of these videos. If you want to know more about this information, just check out some of the links or not. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. All right, now I said in the last couple of videos that I'm splitting all this up into different videos here because it got so long, because every comment and question was about something different, that I couldn't just group them all in together and kind of talk about it in one way. So hopefully those people who don't like to listen to videos for very long, such as myself, perhaps I have ADHD, perhaps I just don't like to sit and listen to videos very long, this might be a little bit better for you versus listening to an hour-long video of me just going on and on and on. That would suck. Anyway, so let's see. What's the next comment/question? If you depend on leaders, you become weak. Krishnamurti. And then Jacqueline Challenger, I guess this is a question. Is it a question for me, or is it a rhetorical question? What will happen if we had no leaders and became responsible for ourselves? At this moment in time, it would look a lot like a kindergarten class without a teacher. It would be absolute mayhem, really, to be honest with you. So like I said, I don't know if you're asking me a question or if you're just posing a hypothetical, right? But unfortunately, the kindergartners in this scenario, if we got rid of all our leaders and governments, all our kindergartners would have AK-47s and assault rifles and stuff. It would be bad. Now, when we become much more mature and advanced and living true to our own divinity in that way, then I'm sure our governments will take on different roles for sure. Our leaders will take on different roles. I think that Krishnamurti was referring more to authority, looking to somebody as an authority, I think, maybe. I'm sure he probably said something like that. But Krishnamurti talked about that a lot, about not to look to even him as an authority. And he lived really honestly and true with his teachings. He wasn't a hypocrite at all. So he didn't want people to see him as an authority. Just a little, not a side note, but to kind of add to this is, when you see Maitreya, you'll see the same kind of thing. He will be saying, he's already said, don't follow him. When you follow him, you've already lost him. A fine example is when Benjamin Creme made the announcement that Maitreya gave his first interview. People went looking like mad trying to find it on the internet. And they found Raj Patal, who was just an ordinary person who just happened to be of Indian descent, English in accent, and was talking about social justice at the time that he made that announcement, right? And everyone thought that was Maitreya when it wasn't. It was an ordinary person. They already missed him. They already lost him. And so, the teachings of Maitreya, I think you'll see, are very similar to Krishnamurti, in a lot of ways. In fact, Maitreya himself said Krishnamurti was a true disciple of his teachings. Not of him, but of his teachings. Live true to those teachings in that way. So very simple, no authority. Don't look to Maitreya as an authority. Just look to him as a kind of a guide and a friend, and as a counselor in a way. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what do we do about this? Well, try this. And see what you do. You might muck it up, but we'll figure it out later after that. Not, hey, take what I said as the truth, and this is the truth. I think we will recognize what he's saying within our own hearts as the truth, because within our own hearts is that same truth in that way. But I don't think that he will expect us to believe it based on the fact that he said it. You know what I mean? So, anyway, hopefully that sheds some light on it. But I will say this. Not so much in terms of kicking out all the leaders, but what if we kicked out all the corruption and all the corrupt leaders? I think that's more of maybe what you're trying to say, in a way, because I think when humanity wakes up to their responsibility to guide the governments of the world and not just be lazy and let the governments do whatever they want, then we will see the changes that we want to see, And then we'll tell them, hey, we want you to create regulation on this company because this company is making us all sick by polluting, or even something that's going on with Putin, attacking a nuclear facility, which is just absolutely maddening. You know what I mean? To stand up to him and say, no, you're not doing it. You're out. Next person in line. You're right. That kind of thing. That's what we need to do as a people. Boot them out, and not just let them. There's a lot more people in Russia than Putin, right? So, they could push them out if they really wanted to. There's a lot more people in the United States than our own government. We could not elect them back and put in people that really have the same concerns, and not looking for a handout or, legalize bribes in the way that they're doing. Now, I wanted to segue into an article that Benjamin Crumb's master wrote based on, I think, what we're just talking about corruption, entitled The End of Corruption. So hopefully at some point there will be an end to corruption. Or I don't think he would have entitled his this article The End of Corruption. So maybe there's some hope out there. But he definitely addresses the problem and what not only the masters are going to have to deal with, but humanity is going to have to deal with, along with the, now that we're moving out of, one age into another, which that age of Pisces is what gave us all the corruption. Now we're moving into a whole different age where the people have the power and not so much the governments do. What we are going to have to deal with in the interim and, to get to where we need to go. All right, so hopefully this will add some light to it. The End of Corruption by Benjamin Crumb's master was written in 2005. More and more the nations are beginning to recognize, to take seriously, and to deal with an age-old problem, namely corruption. In some parts of the world, corruption has been a way of life for centuries. This has benefited the few, of course, at the expense of the many. For untold ages, corrupt leaders and powerful politicians have waxed rich on the taxes imposed on their subjects and citizens. In modern times, the large corporations of the West have been found guilty of cooking the books on a massive scale, while in the East, it is taken for granted that every transaction needs the greasing of someone's palm. Corruption is endemic and runs through some societies from the president or the prime minister to the police and sport. Electoral corruption is rampant, as recent elections have demonstrated, even in countries supposedly dedicated to freedom and democracy. Such corrupt governments fail and betray their peoples and so surrender their rights to govern. In the midst of such corruption, is it possible to engender trust, without which the future for men would be bleak indeed? Without trust, a fair sharing of resources would be a forlorn hope. Without trust, the global decisions required to sustain our planetary home would never be taken. Without blessed and beneficent trust, men would forfeit their right of stewardship on planet Earth and would seal themselves off for eons from further evolution. Thus it would be, and thus should men tackle seriously and without delay the corrosive impact of corruption on every strata of society and every nook and cranny of our planetary life. To help men to do this, you may be sure that Maitreya will be at pains to demonstrate to men the eroding effect of corruption in all its manifestations. He will show that if men would become the gods they essentially are, they must abandon the old ways of deceit and subterfuge. To tackle the serious environmental problems, he will explain men must work together in trust. Without trust, Maitreya will emphasize, little can be done. So steeped in corruption themselves are the leaders of the nations that they trust no one. Maitreya will show that men have but one choice to create the necessary trust, to share the produce of this bounteous earth more evenly across the world, and so end forever the starvation and poverty of millions dying in the midst of plenty. Will the leaders listen to the words of Maitreya? For the most part, possibly no, not at first. But soon, the people everywhere will hear and see the wisdom of Maitreya's advice. They will say amen to his wise words and support his cause. World public opinion will find its voice and its mentor. And against its power, the obstructive voices of the greedy dictators and corrupt politicians will fade. So will it be, and so will begin the cleansing and transformation of this world. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.